Te Huinga Manu, gathering place of the birds, a wildlife refuge, a place of beauty and peace. Christchurch Drainage Board sewage treatment works, one and the same place. 1/3 of a million people in this city, and that's a lot of toothpaste. And it has to go somewhere. For the city of Christchurch, it goes here, well out of sight of most of its citizens. Out of sight, maybe, but mindfully cared for. It goes to a place that works in harmony with nature. Tucked under the concrete surrounds of these sedimentation tanks, welcome swallows are nesting. An early problem which bothered the neighbours was later solved by this huge dome. In this biological filter tower, naturally occurring organisms break down pollutants in the effluent as it trickles down through a plastic filter bed. Seen under a microscope, these minute organisms are the most important workers in the place. Critical to the process of treating sewage, they are the good guys. These round ones are protozoa. And along with these worm-like nematodes, well, they break up the toothpaste. And one result of all this activity is a lot of bad-smelling gas. Captured and channeled through pipes, the smell that bothered the neighbours is pumped underground to be released up through a really high-tech filter. Grass. Just a plain old lawn, in fact. So here we have the ultimate filter. Pleasant to look at, a mercy for the nose, and easy meals are always available on this expanse of grass for the many birds who have made their homes here. Out in the Oxidation Ponds, the last treatment stop for the liquids from the plant and the heart of the wildlife refuge, microscopic creatures can be found working hard on the toothpaste. A protozoa feeds on decomposing matter. Its mouth is on the right, surrounded by cilia, minute hairs moving all the time. Now this large creature, flicking its tail, is a rotifer, also feeding, with its mouth on the right. And an assortment of tiny protozoa enthusiastically make a meal of a larger, decaying rotifer. Now, these nearly invisible workers are involved with a never-ending process of cleaning up decay and pollution. much more visible are the human workers. In the control room, a staff of 2 tap a dial here and there and control the whole orderly system. And in every part of Te Huinga Manu, order is apparent. Everything that is growing around the plant and ponds starts off here. Although champion-sized blooms are not a part of the process, they are part of the caring approach of the people who work in this self-contained community. Nothing's wasted here, even waste. And with this waste, the plant becomes self-sufficient. It not only grows the biggest pansies you've ever seen, it provides its own fuel. The sludge is pumped into this trim brick digester. As the sludge breaks down, methane gas is produced, more than enough to power the entire plant. Scrubbed, pumped away, and given the respectable name of compressed biogas, it fuels most of the plant's vehicles. All the sludge remaining is pumped into tankers. Since no chemicals are added to this natural system of sewage treatment, the sludge is used for fertilising not only flower beds, but the drainage board's farm. Shy and secretive, and not normally seen against a backdrop of suburbia and passing tankers, royal spoonbills drop in regularly from their breeding grounds in Westland and Marlborough. Originally drifters from Australia, they appear rare and exotic to most New Zealanders, but it's possible they may soon stay to breed here at the ponds. Surrounding the ponds, the drainage ditch, which channels seepage, provides another habitat for birds who do breed here. Hidden in the grass, a female mallard duck is incubating her eggs. Nearby, a pukeko cautiously approaches a nest containing 10 eggs. It's her turn for duty, sitting on these eggs, laid in one nest by several females of her family group. Just above the ditch is an abundant supply of ice plant. Planted here to stabilise the sandy banks, the flowers are a succulent food for pukeko and feral geese. Just across the road from the ditch is the farm. The farm paddocks are a valuable food source for birds who like to eat grass. Today there are handouts, and the pukeko are quick to take advantage. Although the cattle take no notice of the birds, the very status-conscious pukeko are not so tolerant. The black swan has always been here, but now, because of this safe habitat and abundant food, they're increasing in numbers. The birds like it here, so maybe we've got it right. Healthy pasture feeds contented cattle, who will eventually feed us. We will certainly, well, use more toothpaste, and so the chain goes on. The bulk of the rich sludge fertilises the farm paddocks. Before the plant was established, this was an area of barren, sandy soil. Trees, like these young nyos, help stabilise the sandy soil around the ponds. They will eventually provide a lot of extra nest areas and make good windbreaks. When the air is calmer, swallows and smaller birds gather expectantly round the pond edges. A sixth sense tells them a gourmet feast is just about to be served. Millions of midges, newly hatched from the ponds, now swarm above the ice plant in the ditch. The main contenders for such an easy meal are starlings, huge flocks of birds forming and wheeling, knowing instinctively where the next swarm will rise. Like the stars of a horror movie, they land to forage again and again, before taking off for another airborne meal. Though just as effective, the table manners of the white-faced heron are more poised, and everywhere the ice plant continues its vital sustaining work. It provides a huge pollen source for local bumblebees, and they in turn pollinate the flowers and ensure the ice plant's continuing usefulness. Six ponds with a surface area of 230 hectares support over 50 species of birds. Water movement is essential for the oxidation ponds to operate efficiently. Pied oyster catchers watch paddle steamers going nowhere. While every so often, mini geysers erupt. And webbed feet churning away, well, every bit helps. Water is continually moving between the ponds through a series of outlets. Too much water movement would erode the pond's edges, and these conveniently placed perches are really baffles which help control wave action. The trees on Pine Island provide a more secure roost for nesting black cormorants. However, without shelter, heat can be a problem for incubating birds. They can only gape and flutter their throats to help cool down. These birds are not dainty builders, and their nests of sticks and twigs are quite substantial. All sorts of bits and pieces are woven in. As the tide comes in, the spoonbills leave the nearby estuary where they've been feeding. For several hours they will perch amicably among the cormorants, waiting for the tide to go out. Below the pine trees, well hidden by the undergrowth, a Canada goose is nesting. This tiny gosling seems compelled to make contact with its sibling, hatched much earlier and now quite dry and downy. These ponds and their 14 artificial islands were bulldozed from wasteland. Among the islands are Rabbit Island, Flat Top, Long Island, the Pumpkin Islands, Heartbreak, Rookery and Goose Island. No prizes for guessing the name of this one. The geese have thoroughly disrupted this neighbourhood. The black swans are also nesting on the islands. Several birds are still incubating eggs in well-concealed nests. A very aggressive parent, this male is not bathing, but warning other birds to stay away. His cygnets, unaware of the fuss, happily dabble about close by. Today, it seems as though the ponds and the birds have always been here, but they've only coexisted since 1961. Mallard ducks breed very successfully on these ponds. Shoveler ducks bob sleepily along. And rarely seen away from wetlands, these ducks, who must sieve their food through their bills, are ideally suited to these ponds. Te Huina Manu, a gathering place of the birds, is a place of peace. Predators are controlled, dogs are banned, people are restricted, and guns are not allowed. A small group of locals are welcomed. From the Ornithological Society, and armed only with scopes and notebooks, much valuable information is gathered about the private lives of the refuge inhabitants.
At least 25, isn't it?
Right. Well,
Very hard to count, though.
yeah, they're darting in and out all the time.
So the geese sound good, don't they?
This mute, or white swan, is a recent arrival and is being closely watched. He and his mate seem quite determined to stay and breed here, but pressure from the very numerous black swans might stop them. For many birds, the adjacent estuary is a natural extension of the ponds. This is where the whole process ends, in contact with the sea. Birds gather as the tide goes out, when many pond feeders become estuary feeders. Activity increases as each group makes for its special area. During the first 4 hours of each outgoing tide, water in which virtually all of the disease-causing organisms have been destroyed is released from the ponds into the estuary. Not far from the outfall, the Spoonbills hoover about in their favourite spot. It's significant that they have adopted this place. Their basic need is an abundant supply of estuary food, such as small fish and crabs. If conditions weren't up to scratch, they wouldn't be here. This ingenious and harmonious system, operated by people who care, gets our sewage out of sight. But it does this in a way that enriches a whole area and proves that when we try, we can get it right.